Again, the 2-minute warning for anyone who wants to sign up for public comment.
2-minute warning.
2-minute warning.
That's probably that.
Move it right along.
Yeah, there's a movie about that.
There was a,
That's good. Good for him. I hope he gets it. Then you'll have a man on staff. Board attorney. You can apply.
we reset the clock, if you might notice it was correct.
That's awesome. Hope we get
New batteries, that's exactly what it was. Latest test on the heating and air. Crazy. So, we'll be texting together and headphone for that. Various things.
Is y'all in gold?
Well, it's out there.
Yeah.
It's twilight, so
They know you got deep pockets. That's why.
long.
They know that they're getting you. They're sticking it to you just because of who you are.
Well, to this particular case, I think you can get real indulgent sometimes. You don't have to double
When
check.
it's somebody else's money, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
All right, one last call for anyone who would like to sign up for public comment.
2-minute warning. That's gone.
Yep.
30 seconds.
Y'all need something to say because the HOSA kids are going to be late if y'all don't take up some time.
Maybe.
We can allow them to move down the agenda.
When we're gone,
Not only that long ago, but- All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to call the regular May meeting of the Madison County Board of County Commissioners to order. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now have a moment of silence. Thank you. We now need to review the agenda. Forrest has informed me that item 6, the Madison County Health Department report, will be deferred to our next session. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Being none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda with the deletion of item 6.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. We will now review the minutes for April 18 and April 25. I want to make a comment to Amanda, whoever else has worked on this. The new format is really very nice. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think because of some issues with the attendance of the meeting on the 18th, that we should do these separately this time.
That's fine.
And with that being said, I'll move to accept the April 18th minutes as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Weckman,
second.
by Commissioner Briggs. Any discussion? All those in favor of the approval of the submitted April 18th minutes, let it be known by raising your right hand. Now we move on to the April 25th minutes.
You guys will vote for that, right?
Any
I move that the April 25th minutes be approved as submitted.
Motion by Commissioner Wetzel. Second by Commissioner Rice. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted for April the 25th, please raise your right hand. Minutes for both are approved. There is no public comment this evening. No one has signed up. And now we are happy that you folks made a flying visit to us. Are you being pursued by the Highway Patrol?
No,
All right. All right. So we welcome the HOSA students and their group leader here. Happy to have you with us.
so I think I can just give you a little introduction. This is Ebony Bailey and Ian Smith, and they participated in a competition at our state HOSA competition, doing a presentation on Zika virus and the dangers of Zika virus and who's at risk for Zika virus. And they won second place in the state. And in June, they will be attending the international competition in Orlando, Florida. So they're going to give you their presentation tonight. It has a little humor in it, has a lot of information, so they have to get up their speech.
Guys, if you will pull that mic up, we are streaming live and it will not pick up if you don't have that mic, okay? So bring that
So
mic
I don't know
around.
if you want to turn and present this way, if you want to move over so they can see you better, whatever they want. It's fine. And thank you for letting them present.
Oh, very happy to. You might actually want to move it quite close, okay?
Okay.
Move it pretty
Yeah.
close to the podium.
Yeah, and you might even need to speak up a little bit because if not, it will not be picked up on the stream.
Okay.
I'm sure you guys want to go out also where you can come back and see it later. That's right.
And they, just so you know, they were given no indication except they needed to talk about Zika virus. So they came up with this whole speech on their own, all the presentation, the way they presented. It was supposed to be an educational presentation. So they're both in the 10th grade at Madison High School. So they're very excited. Hopefully everybody will learn something.
Okay. You can't get me now.
You missed a spot.
Where?
Right there. By the way, you do know you don't have to constantly wear that to be safe, don't you?
But then I get the Zika or malaria.
Ian, spell Zika.
Z-I-C.
No.
Well, why do I even need to know how to spell it?
If you don't know the basics of Zika, then how can you be safe from it?
Well, then how can I be safe?
Well, first of all, you don't have to constantly do all that to be safe. As long as you follow some simple precautionary measures, you should be just fine. Hello, my name is Ebony Bailey.
And I'm Ian Smith. We're here today to share some of our knowledge about the Zika virus. Let's start by explaining what Zika is and how it became such a big problem.
Zika fever, also known as Zika virus disease and simply Zika, is a member of the virus family Flaviviridae. In 1947, the Zika virus was discovered in rhesus monkeys, which were living in a forest in Uganda, which is now called the Zika forest.
Wait, I thought Zika was a disease, not a forest in the middle of Africa.
It's actually both. Zika was named for the place in which it was first observed. Scientists realized that some of the local monkeys were showing signs of a strange illness. Once they identified the virus, they named the forest after the disease that was found in it.
Zika was first reported in humans in 1952. Mosquitoes consumed infected monkeys' blood from the Zika forest and then carried the virus inside them. Viruses leak from species to species due to mutations in DNA, also called an energenic shift. Following a major shift, the Zika virus leapt into humans. So now people can be infected with Zika. Someone got on a plane and returned to their home country, and the cycle began anew, except that now Zika spread even more quickly on its path to total world domination.
Sure. The areas that are currently most affected by this virus are northern and eastern South America and western Africa. Because these areas are near the equator, the water surrounding them is warm. Warm, stagnant water is the best habitat for mosquito larvae to hatch. Another factor contributing to this outbreak is that the populations living there have little to no access to potable water. We have seen Zika flourish in the impoverished countries around the world. A combination of travel and immigration have made Zika into the emerging pandemic that it is today.
Zika moved from impoverished areas in South America into areas in Mexico that are also impoverished. A combination of travel and immigration led to the introduction of Zika into Texas. From Texas, Zika spread all over the United States.
Zika is transferred in 3 different ways: through mosquito bites, drinking water, and sexual contact.
Sexual contact is a term encompassing oral, anal, and vaginal sex, but also the sharing and use of sexual toys. As with all sexually transmitted diseases and illnesses, abstinence is always the best prevention.
But if you do decide to have sex, it is advised that you use protection. Zika has shown to survive in both seminal and vaginal fluids. Zika can also be passed on even if the original patient is asymptomatic.
Zika poses the greatest risk to young children and developing fetuses. Once the mother becomes pregnant, then as the child is growing inside the mother's womb, it begins to develop more serious health conditions such as microcephaly and Guillain-Barré syndrome. If you are a woman and know that you have Zika, you should wait at least 8 weeks to conceive. Men with Zika are advised to wait at least 6 months before becoming sexually active. There are many ways to take precautions in order to lower your risk of contracting Zika, but if Zika and other vector-borne illnesses are not fully eradicated, then we can never stop this emerging pandemic.
To eliminate Zika, we have to start at the source: mosquitoes. One great way to get rid of mosquitoes is limiting the amount of windows that you have open and also blocking open entrances with screen doors and screen windows.
Another very effective method to eliminate mosquitoes is eliminating standing puddles of water. Standing puddles can lead to a drastic increase in the number of mosquitoes near a home. Also, wearing long sleeves and pants can help fight mosquitoes away and prevent bites from these pests.
Now we know the ways in which Zika is transferred, but how do we know if we've been infected?
Many of the infected people do not know that they have Zika until about 3 weeks after they become infected, which is also called the incubation period. Many individuals are asymptomatic, and when symptoms are present, they're only mild, such as fever and rash.
The symptoms usually only last for several days to a week. For this reason, many people might not realize they have been infected. Symptoms of Zika are similar to that of influenza, as well as other viruses spread through mosquito bites, such as dengue and chikungunya.
What makes it so scary is that currently there is no vaccine or treatment options for Zika. So when you got it, you got it. And if you don't, then you just got to be extremely careful in order not to get it.
Even though Zika has few and relatively common symptoms, that does not mean it should be taken lightly. In fact, it is just the opposite.
Zika is absolutely nothing to joke about. It poses the greatest risk to infants and unborn fetuses. The health risks associated with this disease in infants are much worse than that in the mother. This is because when the mother contracts Zika, the infant is not fully grown. This causes the infant to have a much harder time adjusting to life outside the womb.
The first major problem is microcephaly, a very rare condition in which an infant is born with an abnormally small head. This condition can cause very rare and untreatable issues in babies and infants. In Brazil, microcephaly saw a 500% increase in the number of cases between 2014 and 2015.
The next harmful effect of the Zika virus is Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS. GBS is a rare disorder in which a person's own immune system damages their nerve cells, causing muscle weakness and sometimes paralysis. In very rare cases, people have even died from GBS, typically from difficulty breathing. Currently, there is no known correlation between contracting Zika and the effects on future pregnancies later on during life.
However, it is still recommended that you do not have any type of sexual contact soon after you contract Zika.
Now we know how we can prevent transmission via sexual contact, but what about mosquitoes?
First of all, not all mosquitoes carry diseases like Zika.
Currently, the only mosquitoes that we know of that carry these diseases are daytime active mosquitoes of the Aedes genus, mainly Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus.
Bug spray is also great in preventing bites from mosquitoes, but not all bug sprays are created equally. So, how do you decide between citronella, DEET, or picardin? Well,
Bug spray. It's the one thing I can't get enough of. So I tell you something, you only need about 3 squirts to last you 8 hours. and then you can run through all the open doors. Yes, I swear it's the truth, and I owe it all to you.
Well, that's one way to think about it, but seriously, it's hard to decide which boat's grade to gig if you don't know much about them. So let's start with DEET.
Do not ingest DEET. DEET is highly poisonous to mosquitoes, but it can also harm humans. So if you have small children, it is advised that you do not use DEET-based sprays near them. DEET is the most common ingredient in insect repellent.
Citronella and citron oils are not nearly as effective as DEET, but they are much safer and healthier for the environment. Citrus-based repellents are the best repellents for use around children because they are non-toxic.
Picaridin is a bug repellent that can be used on human skin or clothing to repel mosquitoes, biting flies, ticks, fleas, and many other insects. There are only about 24 products containing picaridin for sale in the United States. These products may be pump sprays, liquids, aerosols, or wipes. Picaridin is just as effective and toxic as DEET, so it is advised that you remain very cautious when using it, and it isn't safe for use around children.
The best way to avoid bites is to wear insect repellent and avoid being outdoors during the times mosquitoes are most active. These times are mostly between the hours of 4 p.m. and 7 a.m.
According to the CDC, many global efforts have been taken in order to reduce the spreading of Zika. These efforts include tracking the spread of Zika worldwide, teaching healthcare providers how to identify Zika, studying links between Zika and birth defects such as Guillain-Barré and microcephaly, advising travelers of methods to protect themselves, testing samples for Zika, and providing laboratories with diagnostic tests.
The United States has also spent around $923 million in their efforts to end the issue of Zika. National Public Radio says the deal reached in Congress includes $394 million to help control Zika-carrying mosquitoes and another $397 million to help develop a vaccine against the virus and better tests to help diagnose cases of Zika. There is also $66 million allocated to healthcare for people affected by Zika in Puerto Rico and other U.S. territories.
Zika is still changing, and research is still being conducted about the different aspects of transmission and prevention protocol. So until we know more about Zika, the best prevention measures are abstinence from sexual activities and just being aware of your surroundings. Like I said before, another precaution is to drain or reduce the amount of standing water in your area.
We hope you enjoyed our presentation today. From our mouths to your ears, make safe and smart choices, America.
Well done, guys.
Most entertaining county commissioner meeting so far.
Absolutely. Future possible commissioners.
Yeah.
I love
He wants to be an anesthesiologist, I forgot to say this, and Ebony wants to be a neonatal surgeon,
A neonatal and fetal surgeon.
neonatal and fetal surgeon.
Well, that shows part of why you were interested in something like this as a project. Also, everybody needs to be made aware, both here and out there, that they are currently looking for financial support to help them with their trip to Florida. So we would encourage people in the community to step forward and do that. And thank you again for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
All right. Ms. D, you're up.
I don't know if I can follow that really.
I gotta admit, that's a hard act to follow.
Don't even try.
Yeah. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Lovely.
Hi. I keep coming back every commissioners meeting. I think this is our last and final thing we need to review. This is something that we've worked with, we review with the North Carolina Department of Transportation to get our Madison County Transportation Authority in line with state and federal guidelines. This evening, we're going to talk about grants and financial policies and procedures. You should have a cheat sheet there, I'm hoping. And I just need your approval, and you'll need to sign something, and it'd be in the minutes this evening. Basically, what happens is that we have to have a grant management plan for the grants that we receive from the Department of Transportation in North Carolina. And the paperwork is basically reviewing how we manage that grant. We're following all the rules that the state and federal government puts into place. Organizational management obviously is governance and how we make decisions down the line from you all the way to the person who writes the check or uses the money. And then financial management obviously is just a broader base of making sure that we've got good plans in place for the year upcoming and those in a multi-year. And we're working with the state right now to make that possible. Using good accounting practices, recording our revenues and keeping up with all the financial pieces that come with that. Are there any questions?
No. Thank you,
You're welcome.
and thank you for everything that you did.
I appreciate it.
Well, we need a motion here, do we not?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes. The chair will entertain a motion for the grants and financial policies and procedures as submitted.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Rice,
Second.
second by Commissioner Wechtel. Any further discussion needed? Gentlemen, all in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Thank you, Dee.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, have a good evening.
Thank you, Dee.
The next item is item 6, which has been deferred, and we will be moving on to item 7, which is Ms. Connie.
Hello.
Good evening.
You should have in your packets our annual contract for services for the blind. The Madison County Department of Social Services shares a social worker with 2 other counties, Henderson and Transylvania County. We have done this for years. This is not a county employee. She's an employee of the North Carolina Division of Services for the Blind. And our share for the upcoming year of her position is $1,706.91. This has been approved by the Social Services Board and is in our budget for the upcoming year.
Connie, I know I asked you this last year, but I forgot what the answer was. How many blind people do we serve in the county?
I think she has somewhere around 15 to 20 clients, of varying visual issues. And she's available to help anyone that needs assistance. She sees folks that come into our office. She can make home visits if people can't get in, can assist with applying for various things that are out there and providing equipment, visual aids, that sort of thing.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, the chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Rice, second.
Same.
Second by Commissioner Wechtel. Any further discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Thank you. Service for the blind annual contract has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you to
Mr. Rice, did you want me to?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd ask Connie to bring a handout on comp time.
Could you just pass this in? Thank you.
Is this nothing forward? Do we really have to vote on it?
Four.
Forward to them? We can bring it in sometime, but we don't have. to approve it.
Oh, no, this, I think this is just FYI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about this, what the vote we just took.
Oh, well, the services for the blind?
Yeah, do we have to vote on that? It's done already, and
We just did.
It's a contract.
It's a contract with the state
Right.
agency.
Yeah, so it does require.
well, no employees, they don't have to come before us. I mean, when they hire somebody.
It's just part of a budget. Yeah, a multi-county budget.
Okay.
All right. Other questions? Okay, good point. All right, Ms. Connie.
Mr. Rice had asked me to share this with you. Sometime back, he had asked me to start doing a presentation to the Social Services Board each month, detailing the number of comp hours that our department has. And I started doing this in July of 2016, do it every month. And you can see for the last pay period, April 30th of this year, Our department had a total of 165.26 comp hours for the entire agency. This is, we have around, I believe around 55 employees. The unit that typically has the most overtime is Children's Services. Our social workers take after hours service calls and also have to do visits in the evening with children in foster care and others. The one employee that we have currently that has that is carrying the most comp hours has 50.67 hours. And that unit, as a total of the agency, has 122.03 hours. So I just wanted to make you aware of how much comp hours that we have. And we've been very fortunate to try to keep those down by just being able to, for the most part, be fully staffed. And supervisors try to watch that and make sure when employees are starting to gather hours, as soon as possible, that they take those off.
And what I found this to be amazing is the number of hours that some of their employees have to work, go out in the middle of the night and all kinds of different situations. And Connie, I just want to publicly congratulate you for taking the lead in this and making it happen. And Forrest, thank you for your leadership countywide in helping to get this reduced. This could be a significant liability to our county, but with department heads like Connie taking it to 165 hours for 55 employees is remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Donny, you're up.
Not a good time. You can ask me.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, let me apologize for not being here last month. I was unfortunately down in Raleigh representing Yancey County before the Property Tax Commission. And Yancey County was successful down there, so what I can tell you, I learned a few things down there. So if we had to go down to Madison County, it was good. It was a good education. You have in your packet our update on tax collections for May of 2017. You will see that I think the previous month we had not filed any actions. We filed 8 new actions since their last meeting. Those are listed. We held a sale. Those dates need to be transposed. It was actually on April the 21st instead of April the 12th that we held those sales. There were 3. The first one, we closed that one out. The bid and purchase price was sufficient to pay all the county's taxes and costs. The next one, that is presently still under upset bid. We are somewhere up in the neighborhood of $35,000 for the last bid on that. That bid, if it would stand, would be sufficient to pay all the taxes and costs and with a large amount of surplus. The last one on there, Madison County was the high bidder. We closed that out, and I have a deed to deliver to Forest, which is another property that we would add to our inventory. What I see is a trend is that what we really don't want to do is proceed to sales and have to sell property. And of course, the county does not want to take back those lots in its inventory. So what I'm seeing now is the majority of the new actions that we file, those taxes are getting paid by the taxpayer or either by a lien holder, and they're not proceeding to sale. which is a good thing. We don't want that to happen. Because we really don't want to end up owning any of this property. The last item are going to be our collections for the month of May. We had a very good month in May. I think the previous 3 or 4 months, we were averaging somewhere between $60,000 and $65,000 in collections. For May, we were up to $72,865, which, you know, we've had fluctuations. This was one of the good months. I think we've got plenty of actions in inventory to keep moving these things along. And I noticed some of you looking back in the corner toward Laura. Yeah, I'm just amazed at the amount of work that she's able to do and what she's producing to me. She gives me a folder with so much information in it. Sometimes I wonder, talk about comp time. Goodness gracious, I'm glad she's a salaried employee and can't get comp time. It would be scary, but she just does a tremendous job. And if you see her around, pat her on the back. She works very good with me. I couldn't ask for anybody.
At the top, number 8, that particular party has 2 accounts. I assume we're filing on both.
Oh, yeah. If there's a name on here, we'll be collecting on everything that is open.
Okay. And right off the top of your head, do you know approximately how many properties we would have? And it doesn't have to be an exact figure, but that would be going on the surplus property list that we have foreclosed on, the county has bought.
That we have actually taken back into surplusage. Sarah, do you have any idea? I mean, I know we have a large number of lots with the Wolf Mountain purchase, but if I'm actually talking about single taxpayers, it would be less than 10, Clayton. 10 actual taxpayers, I would say. Now, some of those taxpayers have multiple lots.
Isn't there a list for us in 11C?
Yeah.
I thought I remembered seeing that.
Yeah.
And I think Forrest has some information on past collections and where we are this year. I want to take his thunder away from him. I'll let him address those issues, and then if I need to add something, I'll be more than happy to, but I'm sure he has all of that information.
All right.
Any other questions?
Wait till she gets the new software. If you think she's good now.
All right. Thank you.
No pressure.
Donny, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Donny.
Any other questions about that? All right. Ms. Brooke.
Here tonight to talk to you about the Employee Assistance Network program policy. So in February, at the February meeting, I came to you just to request approval for the county to join the program, the network, and you all approved it. And since March 1st, we've been members, and that's been going really well. I've utilized it in my office already, and I've been meeting with county employees about it and introducing them to the program. And county employees that I've met with have seemed to be really excited about this new benefit for them and their families. And so I just wanted to formalize the way that this works in a policy as I'm working to update our personnel manual. This has the potential to intersect with the FMLA policy, with the drug and alcohol-free workplace policy. And I just wanted to formalize it with a policy. So I'm asking for your approval.
I got one quick question, and I think I know the answer, but we pay per employee, even if it is a family member that utilizes the service, correct?
We just pay a flat fee every year on our employee count. $16 per employee.
I have one question. In the past, we've referred to this as EAN.
Yeah, they even interchange it on there, so I call it the EAN.
Right.
It's the EAN, the EAP, whatever you want.
It's interchangeable.
It is.
It's okay.
But their literature even says both things.
Okay.
Like one flyer I have says the EAN and their brochure says EAP.
Okay. Thank you.
Any discussion? The chair will move that the board approve the EAP policy that will go into effect on June 1, 2017, as submitted by our Director Brooke Smith.
I would second that.
Second by Commissioner Rice. Any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Policy is approved.
Thank you. And then just a quick update on the alcohol and drug-free workplace policy. The policy is majority complete. I've been meeting with employees, one department at a time, to roll it out. There's just some fine tuning I think that needs to be done to it. This is a big policy. It's basically 5 or 6 different policies that comprise one big drug and alcohol-free workplace policy. And so we want to make sure that we've got it absolutely right and that everyone understands exactly how it works. And so I'm going to pull together some department heads to test them out and say, quick, I've picked Sally Sue, or not I, but Sally Sue has been selected for a random drug test based on this policy. Can you please tell me what you would do? So we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page and understands what they're doing before we put it out there. So I've been meeting with departments. I've got a few left to go. Everyone seems to understand what we're doing and where we're moving, but I just wanted to give you all a quick update.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions before I leave?
Questions? All right. Thank you, Brooke. Ray, Madison County Finance Officer. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. I have 4 things for you to take a look at tonight. The first item is the Via Health quarterly reports that we received for you guys to take a look at. This basically shows their year-to-date budget versus actual for the work that they do with us in our county.
Any questions, gentlemen? All right.
The next thing is the April financial report. And behind that is also a list of vendors and totals paid to the vendors.
Again, I assume the sales tax will eventually catch up revenue.
Yeah, they're I think they're about 2 months behind, and that seems to be their perpetual cycle. Forrest and I are working on trying to get a projection for year end on where we think that will hit, so we can go ahead and post that and close out the year come the end of June. So
It's actually looking good compared to, right, it's coming in a good rate, but it won't be all into August.
Do we back post that to this fiscal year?
That may not be the right terminology for me, for Rhea's sake, but it does go into this year's budget, yes.
Thank
you. Any other questions?
I assume daycare is the same way that as sales tax, just running a little bit behind.
of course.
One other question, sorry, Norris, I've
No,
been
no
on for a little while.
Yeah, keep going, keep going.
You gotta sharpen this pencil.
Yep.
You're just picking on me because you weren't here last time.
Yeah, forgive me.
No, it's okay. I'm giving you a hard time.
That's fine. The county property, the rent on county property, are all of our leases current in terms of us being paid?
As far as I know, yes, I'll be more than happy to double check first thing in the morning, and I'll send out an email confirming that.
Thank you.
That'll be my question, but that's okay.
Sorry, man.
That's okay.
Should have been
Or
like
Bill,
that.
That's all good.
got a question?
No, I don't.
All right. Okay, no question on that. We'll move to budget amendment.
Yes, I am presenting to you budget amendment number 10. Most of these are, like the property taxes were just to catch up to what we've been collecting and make sure we're staying on budget with that. A few others that were requested from the departments, and a couple of math errors on previous budget amendments that were detected.
Bottom line is, we're not having to dip into contingency for any of this, is that correct?
That's correct, we're actually adding to the contingency.
That's what I
Yes.
wanted to make sure, thank you.
Yes.
So that 269,
Is added to our contingency.
it is?
Mm-hmm.
First time in how many years?
Don't be going and buying a bunch of furniture now, just hang on.
It's been,
It can't. I mean, it's 267 over here, but the contingency fund balance
Mm-hmm.
was 134,483 on page 4.
So this is.
So
this-
we were in
would
a
add
negative position before we added that?
we were at 130, the number on the, 134,483.
Yeah.
Plus this 269.
that. Correct, so it'll be close to 4.
Oh, good.
Once we're done.
Yeah, that 269 is an addition.
We're having
Correct.
a very good year for now. And I think the key is looking at how the past few years have been, which I'll address in a moment. The more we set back, the better we are for our fund balance sake. This is very good considering we've been down in very low numbers there before.
For several
Especially
years.
since we have nice projects that, like our tax software that we're looking to budget for. This contingency is a good budget for that.
Other questions or comments?
I'm done.
Are you sure you get one more?
Okay, I got one.
You asked for it.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve budget amendment 10 dated May 9, 2017. So moved by Commissioner Rice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Westbrook. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approval of budget amendment 10, raise your right hand. The amendment is approved.
The last thing I have for you, gentlemen, is the tax releases and refunds for April.
And again, most of these are to rectify the properties.
Pretty late this morning.
Mhm. Well, actually, if that process moves forward, it should get lighter. Hopefully. Before people pay their taxes on time.
I move that we approve as presented.
A motion by Commissioner Rice. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wexler. Any further discussion or approval of the tax releases and refunds for April? Being no discussion, all those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Tax releases and refunds for April are approved.
I got a couple questions before you go, though. They weren't pertinent to the one that the email from Bruce Murray in there that was attached with Part C of your package, the Budget Amendment 10.
Yes, sir.
Just curious, does that obviously doesn't, in Bruce's capacity, it doesn't have anything to do with the school system in this particular item, correct? If not, why wouldn't that money come out of the school budget instead of ours?
Oh, yes. Juvenile Crime Prevention Council funding comes through the State Division of Juvenile Justice. And the counties provide a 20% match from county funds for that. So school system houses that nonprofit and handles their payroll and stuff, but the money for it, in addition to some other sources, comes through us.
So it's mostly just a pass-through?
Yeah.
Okay. The other one was on the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. Let's can we give Sarah a second to tell us what this is?
Yes, sir.
Not to put you on the spot.
We have a copy right here.
Right, that's a $4,500 grant they give us half up front to do a science-based program in the summer. It's going to be July 17th through 21st, partnership with Marshall University as part of a workforce development program for our natural resource sector. So on the Appalachian Trail side, students will be working on projects and science-based projects along the trail building. And then on the college's side, they'll do the outdoor recreation piece.
Excellent. And then I've got one other comment on for the communities and schools program. I understand where Bruce is coming from, that the new equipment is a good thing. I actually have a friend of mine who works in the IT department for Buncombe County Schools, and they throw away stuff that I'm sure we would kill to have, just because they have such an excess of what they need. Do we know, has there been any, I know like our sheriff's department will trade equipment with other sheriff departments and stuff like that. Is there anything in place for the school system to network with other surrounding school systems to see what they're disposing of and if it would be useful for us?
I don't know about a formal network, but I know from seeing the schools all my life that they'll take a handoff pretty easy. And we'll get trailers full of equipment or books or supplies, whatever. On this specific instance, I don't know what they looked into, but I know that.
I wasn't necessarily, I wasn't trying to be specific. I was just speaking general.
I know, for instance, the building at Mars Hill, the rock building, which we talk about a lot, had a whole gym full of stuff that they got from Haywood County. And they let the teachers go through, and that was mostly equipment, a little bit of furniture. Most of it was teaching instructional supplies. And they got a good bit of use out of that. So it's rather informal what they do. I assume they probably do have a clearinghouse for surplus property similar to what we look at. But, and I don't know about specific relationships they've got with school systems or anything like that.
His statement to me was it just blows his mind with the stuff that they throw away that could be useful for other folks and maybe even our school system. So, thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Horst.
Just a few, several updates. The backing up taxis, as Mr. Laws discussed, I've given you an updated sheet that shows how much we budgeted for prior year's taxes versus how much has been collected year to date. Obviously, prior years are for the entire year. So you can see that for this year, we budgeted a total of $715,000 from all prior year's delinquent taxes. So I think they start in 2005, but we'll take them farther back if somebody pays a bill and they owe them. We have exceeded what's budgeted for the first time since FY 12-13. If you'll recall, I've harped every time we've done the budget. Those who came in to the budget of 14-15, which included me inherited an unrealistic goal for collections. As you can see, 1.4 million. After falling short by 400,000 the year before, it was increased the following year. We had an automatic hole in our budget. And that year, instead of like we're doing right now, being able to put money toward contingency because we've worked to wean ourselves off of that as a revenue source, we ended up, by the end of the year, because we only were halfway through, we went $500,000 into fund balance, basically, which is our long-term savings. We're now on target. Last year, at the end of the year, we had a small surplus, and this year we're on target to have a surplus. But we're doing well. Still got to get that number down to a realistic number, and we hope to exceed it, just like we're doing right now. We're $27,000 beyond what we budgeted for the year. Hopefully, we'll get another 100 before the end of the year. Hopefully, 500 before the end of the year, but we'll see. That comes in. That's money that can go toward our savings. It's our rainy day fund. It's our long-term construction. Really good work on the part of our tax collector and our county attorney, and for everyone who has stood firm on the request for favors and that sort of thing that do come when you start to deal with these types of issues. So we're moving in a good direction, and we're on target. Of these years, and it's probably our record was 2013, 2014, a rate of bringing in 783,000. We may exceed that this year as we're at 742. So that's good, and I plan to lower the budget amount for next year and hopefully exceed it more. But we cannot plan our recurring expenses to be paid for out of that one-time revenue source.
Forrest, I think that it's very important for everyone to recognize, and we all do, that this is also the result of very prudent county management on your part. We very much are appreciative of that and your leadership on this budget and your leadership in helping us get to this point.
For next year's budget, we are working ongoing, and we have a first budget workshop planned for next Thursday, May 18th. We hope to start sooner, but there's some fine tuning on some of the remaining budgets. We're very close to having that ready for your initial review, and we'll have it. I will have presented it to you by the end of May, ready for a June adoption. But we're looking at some increasing revenues, but also some increased healthcare costs and other items beyond our control that make it a challenge, but less of a challenge than we've had the last few years. So we're moving to a good place there. For the year, just your budget amendment also increased your amount for current year's taxes. We had budgeted 95% collection rate. Current year tax revenue has exceeded that by $53,000. May not have exceeded the collection rate yet because the bills that went out may have been larger than what we budgeted, but we're exceeding what we budgeted. And your budget amendment raised that a total of $100,000, so another $47,000, and you will have met that, which is very good in that current year collection rate. Hopefully we're on target to get very close to 96%, if not hit 96% and exceed it. And that's that recurring revenue. Every percent increase in that is basically a little over $100,000 to the county. And it also benefits each of our fire departments and all those as those collection are collected by the same method. A couple of legislative items. As I wrote this, the Senate budget, they said it was going to come out soon, and they announced it around 4:30, and it may be online now, but it should be available in the next 12 hours or so with a little more information. But a couple of things as we start to look now that we'll have two proposed budgets out. Governor submitted his budget to the legislature in early March. Senate budget will come out today or tomorrow and probably be passed by the end of the week, and then it will go to the House. House and Senate are targeting June 15th for completion. But a couple of things specific, we could spend an hour talking about budget, but two items in the governor's budget specific to Madison County, and then a couple of items from Senate and House discussions that could impact us. Governor's budget includes $14.5 million to help local governments for broadband grants to fund private providers or electric co-ops deploy last mile broadband internet, which actually goes to the home. This has been a challenge for us to have a pot of money to apply for outside of some complicated federal dollars. Madison County is on a list of counties that could compete, estimating $3 million in a project for Madison County. I totaled up the list to see what we'd be competing with if it ends up happening, and the total of the list was $35 million. So about half of that could be funded, and we'll see. I read that the Senate budget included more for infrastructure. Don't know if that was all roads, or maybe they funded the full 35 and earmarked Madison County when we have to apply for a grant. That could happen. They also might not put a cent in there. You never know, but we'll know tomorrow. That issue has had bipartisan consensus during the governor's State of the State address back in March. There was a standing ovation pretty much from everybody there. Every rural legislator, regardless of party, stood up. So I think there's probably going to be an interesting solution to this coming from all of the chambers. And we do have Representative Presnell's introduced a bill locally, introduced a bill that would allow local governments to fund broadband projects as an enterprise fund. So similar to running a water and sewer system, except the local government could only build the system and then lease it to a private provider. So that goes back several years. There's conflict between the telecom companies and local governments. But that is a compromise, and we'll see where that ends up. Positive move to give local governments more options. We don't have millions of dollars to go deploy that, but it would be we could apply for a grant that would help us do that. So would be a good tool to have. $2 million in grants to the Governor's Crime Commission in the governor's budget for local law enforcement grants to combat the opioid issue, and also $12.7 million in community mental health funding in that same category. And Representative Presnell is the sponsor of the Strengthen Opioid Misuse Prevention Act, STOP Act, which deals with some of the issues with providers and how records are cross-checked to try to cut down the supply of that. So we'll see now with the Senate budget coming out, we'll know a lot more information. The brief news coverage I saw said there was a lot of agreement, but some major items where there was disagreement, which is better than some years, but also depending on what those issues are, we'll just see where everything ends up. There's potential, there's a House bill that's been filed that would provide matching funds for voting machines, which the state's requiring that we replace by 2020. Interested to see if that's in the Senate budget as well. There is a Senate bill that changes the sales tax formula. It's complicated. I found it very interesting, but I won't get into the details with you. Basically, it would simplify the adjustment factor for those people, for the portions of the sales tax that are distributed per capita. So things that are collected all over the state, divided among the counties. There's an adjustment factor that goes there so that Madison County, when you did the formula divided by population of each county, we would get 96% of that previously. We would now get 100% based on our tier status. Buncombe County, as a tier 3 least distressed county, would get 90%. And Yancey County, which is sometimes a tier 1 county, would get 110%. So it equalizes that. Would be helpful to us by 4%, which is probably a pretty good bit of money, but we don't have the calculations in the short run. It's scary when they start to tinker with the tier system in the future, which they always talk about. But for now, it could be a really good thing. The Senate has passed that. It's gone to the House. If you remember the whole thing last time, the Senate had more rural members, were more friendly to counties like Madison. House and governor sort of killed the ultimate, but there was a compromise. So we'll see where this ends up. Companion bills filed, Senate Bill 594 and House Bill 608, the Family and Child Protection and Accountability Act, which would set in motion the process of consolidating departments of social services into basically 40 agencies in the state. 10 of those would be single county agencies, assuming your biggest counties, and the remaining 30 would be 3 county districts. The direct impact on Madison County, if this goes through, is unknown because it's a 5-year process they would be planning, and there would be a working group made up of a mix of stakeholders who would work out those details. Obviously, anytime you're consolidating something like that, it has to be done very carefully, and the state has to move through that mental health reform. You got your buy health report earlier. It was not the model. It's taken years to get that worked out, but this may work a little differently. But what we do know as a county is if this passes and it goes through, we would, in 2022, not have, as it's written, the Madison County Department of Social Services. We would be part of a 3-county region. Buncombe would probably be by themselves, so we would most likely be with Yancey and Mitchell. A lot of unknowns there about who has control over who's hired, how do you get your, where the citizens go when they require service, how do you uphold the same standards, which might be a little easier at a statewide level. And then there's the budget concern. How do you get, just on salaries, you have probably 100 different pay scales in the state right now. As those employees are transitioned into some other uniform system, who shoulders the burden of getting people up to that level, or are there other changes to those employees? So a lot of questions about how that process moves. I understand the DSS Directors Association has not yet taken a stand, but they will be later this week. It sounds like they're considering that. A lot of major moving parts there. And we'll just see what happens. Any questions on any of the legislative stuff? That's all I have on that. Property tax software is the next item. At your April special meeting, you reviewed and met with Lori Ray to discuss the different proposals we received for property tax software. And it was agreed that Farragut, which is the software vendor, and the North Carolina Property Tax System, which is the NC Association of County Commissioners, and Farragut, NCACC, and Farragut partners in that, was the best route to go. And you all voted to move forward with contract and that sort of thing. And Donny has been working on that. We have We have gotten that information back, but a few days after that initial decision was made, we heard that a neighboring county had had some issues with the vendor. So we stepped back, did some checking with that county, which was Henderson County, checked with them, found out what their issues were, observed discussions from management side, tax office side, vendor side, talked with other counties who use the same software. And Lori and I have discussed it, and we're still feel like this is the best move. This is a monumental change for the county, and it's going to require the migration of a lot of data and a lot of information that we've been storing in an antiquated system. It's going to take a couple of years to get established. But being part of a statewide organization with Farragut and NCACC, we have the power of these larger counties to push through the software improvements. You share in the maintenance costs. There are more steady long-term cost projections. And also there's a chance the state may push everyone to consolidate onto this system in 10 years anyway. That's what they did with the vehicle. This is who does the vehicle tax system, the Department of Revenue. North Carolina Department of Revenue is pleased with the implementation of that and how it works. So with all of that being said, you have in front of you the proposed contract on Farragut. We're still waiting on the license agreement from NCACC, but I spoke with Mr. Laws, and if you all are prepared, a motion to approve pending final attorney review would allow us to move forward now. If you wish.
Right. Any discussion of the proposed Farragut contract, Joe?
They've cleaned up any concerns that you had done?
We're waiting for the form from NCACC that'll be a part of this, and once we get that, the specs of it are appropriate. All we would be asking is that as to form, I'll just clean it up as to clauses and those things that are in it. And if you want to go ahead and approve the contract as to, subject to modifications as to form by me, and then authorize whoever you want to sign it. Once we get it cleaned up, then we'll present a clean copy to whoever you authorize to sign it.
Questions, good?
No, sir.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the contract pending review by our attorney.
Motion by Commissioner Rice,
Second.
second by Commissioner Wechtel. Any further discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand.
Who do you want to authorize to sign the final contract? Do chairman, county manager? If you just designate whoever it would be, then there won't be any reason to bring it back.
All right, we will entertain a motion as to who executes the contract.
I move, I would move that I move that the ultimate signer of the contract would be Forrest as county manager.
I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Wechtel, second by Commissioner Rice. Any further discussion? All those in favor of having Forrest sign the final contract, raise your right hand. Any other questions, Councilman?
I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right, Forrest. Congratulations. This has been a long time coming. Long time coming.
Mr. Chairman, if we could wait on the property issues,
Okay.
something to talk to y'all about beforehand and come back to that potentially. So that leaves item D, inmate labor contract for fiscal year 2017, 2018. We utilize three North Carolina Department of Corrections inmates in our maintenance department, perform various maintenance tasks, everything that any person we hired at a full salary would do for the most part. We have to be supervised by our employees who've gone through the certification with the department. All three of our maintenance folks have done that. We have certified some other employees in other departments in case there's a need to have somebody borrow for a day or an hour for a small project, essentially mowing and other things, and the cost is $1 per day. For 3 people, that's $780 a year, and then you do have to feed them lunch, and we're estimating that around $6,000 per year. So it's a good deal for 3 people, and the proposed renewal contract for the next year is in your.
Just curious, is the lunch that they get fed, is it the same that the inmates in our county jail get, or do they get a different?
They just go buy something or to cook in the shop, depending on how busy they are.
One of the best deals we've got, guys. Saves us tens of thousands of dollars a year.
Saves a lot of money.
Yeah.
Sure
It's
is.
a very valuable service.
Yeah. You get $1 a day.
Mhm. Any other discussion?
Do we need to formally make a
Yeah.
motion on this?
Need a motion.
I move that we accept the 2017-2018 inmate labor contract as submitted.
Motion by Commissioner Wetzel, seconded by Commissioner Briggs. Any further discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by raising our right hand. All right.
And just for your reference, you have a list of board appointments, none this month, but next month you have due in June, the Navy Tech Board of Trustees currently filled by Commissioner Brigman, and the Library Board of Trustees, person is term limited, needs someone from the Marshall area, and we're working on identifying someone. If you all work on that as well, we'll just see what applies for that.
Excellent.
Thank you all.
All right. We have come to the point in the meeting where under State Law 143-318, period 11, the board will move into closed session to discuss property, personnel, legal, and economic development issues. We will need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Rice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wetzel. All in favor of going into closed session, raise our right hand. We are in closed session.
Have a good day.
That's the usual spot, guys.
All right.
Where you been traveling? Mr. Chairman?
Well, New York, DC, twice.